Hey, good morning, folks. It's Kenny White, Sports by the Book, and it is a Friday the 20th. I can remember when last week was Friday the 13th. I'm not even sure if I talked about it. This will be my second Friday with Sports by the Book and second week at the South Point Studios. Alex White and I do the 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. show, father-daughter, family matters, sports betting information show for you 3 days a week there, and then here on Fridays. Alex White and Jeff Parles take over on Saturday at 8 a.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and you can go to YouTube, go to the South Point Studio page to find all the great shows. Punchlines Monday to Friday at 12 o'clock with Frank Nicotero, and then Gone Racing every Thursday, 10 a.m. Also, Race Day, Ralph Sirocco, Wednesday to Sunday at 7 a.m. there at the South Point Studios, and you can watch it live on YouTube, southpointstudios.com. So all those great shows that you can find them there. We've got football underway. It has been a tough start of the season for so many handicappers in all sports, college football, NFL, baseball, I think, has been tough for bettors to beat. And, the word I'm hearing around the street, sportsbooks, they don't want to say it. Hush, hush. They've had their best start of a football season in the history of sports betting, probably. It's just amazing. Looking at the Survivor contest, the numbers aren't out yet, obviously, because the deadline's next week. I'm talking about Circa Survivor. There were 8,600 live entries going into last week. And with the Ravens losing and so many other losses, I think they said they have only 23% of the original count. That's amazing for a contest that's just pick the winner. And then I looked last week. I'm going to do it again on my show, Bet the Gambit, on Sunday. I'm going to talk about the 5 top plays from the Circa Million contest. Last week, 0-5 ATS. Ravens -8 was one of the top plays. They didn't cover. The Sunday night game, the Ravens -6.5. They did not cover. The second best pick, the Chiefs -5.5. They almost lost the game straight up. The Colts -2.5, loser. And the Jaguars minus the points against the Browns. That was a loser. 0-5, the 5 top plays from Survivor Millions. So that's something to look at this week and see how they do. And one play I even narrowed down, looking at the betting line last Sunday, was the Detroit Lion game. The market had 6 everywhere. The Circa had 5.5. That's Derek Stevens. He's a Detroit guy. He loves those Lions. But yet they had the lowest number on the board. That was kind of telling. They lose straight up to the Tampa Bay Bucks. So pretty amazing. Let's talk about some under-the-radar college football games today. Saturday's games, they go on Saturday. And I'll break down a couple of other games as well for Saturday. But my under-the-radar, I like these games the best. These are games that I really focus in on and try to hit. And I say under the radar, these are still FBS games, but I do like to hit that FCS board and get some winners there. I give out one game earlier this week on Sports by the Book. Alex asked me, you got to play? And I said, yeah. Youngstown State's getting 25.5 from Pittsburgh on Saturday. I took Youngstown State. I think 25.5 is way too many points. This is a big game for Youngstown State. Always a solid football program from Ohio, and not very far away from Pittsburgh. So they do recruit against Pittsburgh in those high school recruiting battles. Let's move down the schedule a bit deeper into the day. I was trying to find a game early. I couldn't. A 4 o'clock kickoff Pacific time. Florida Atlantic plays Connecticut. This game at the South Point opened Connecticut 3. It is down to 1.5. Huskies -1.5. I made Connecticut 7. I like Connecticut here. Jim Mora Jr., their head coach. Third year now in stores. He was 9-16 his first 2. He's 1-2 so far this year. But he's 2-1 covering spreads. And he's 8-4 going into this year covering spreads at home. He's 1-0 this year. So 9-4 is his record at home. He is 9-4 to the under in his home games. He is a very conservative head coach. His father, Jim Mora, an NFL head coach, was very conservative. Jim Jr. also coached in the NFL, way back, 04 to 06 with the Falcons. And he was 26-22, had a winning record, was let go. Took a job with the Seattle Seahawks years later, went 5-11, and he was fired there. And then Pete Carroll took over. But Jim Mora then got the job at UCLA. At 6 years at UCLA, 46-30. He did have 2 top 20 teams at UCLA. He's a very good coach. Very conservative on offense, though. He's got a really good quarterback, and I'll get to him next. Let me go over Florida Atlantic head coach Tom Herman. Herman was a big success in the 2010s at Houston, 22-4. He won his only bowl game. He had 2 bowl games, but he left before the second one because the Longhorns gave him a 5-year deal worth $5 million a year, and he went to Austin to coach the Longhorns, where he went 32-18 in his 4 years, went 4-0 in bowl games, but only really had one team that really gave it a run for a national championship. I think that was his 3rd year there. And his 4th year, he went backwards. People were expecting a lot out of him. Didn't get it. I think he came in very, very cocky. He rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in Austin. And he was fired there. He was an OC at Ohio State for a couple of years before that. He does like to call the plays still. He likes to play fast. And he likes to throw the football. At Florida Atlantic, 1 year, 4-8. Struggled in his home games last year, 1-5 ATS. He's 1-1 this year, so 2-6 overall. On the road, did a much better job in his 2 years. He's 5-2, covering the spreads on the road. He beat covered at Michigan State in the first game this year. They lost 16-10 to the Spartans. So good game there. Then they lost to Army 24-7, and they beat FIU last week 38-20. But don't take a lot out of that final score. It is not an indicative of how the game was played. They won the turnover battle 5-0. 2 recovered fumbles and 3 interceptions by FIU. Completely ruined that game for them, and Florida Atlantic came away with a big win. This offense is not very good. Cam Foncher is their starting quarterback. Foncher came from Marshall. He was the starting quarterback at Marshall. And in 2023, Foncher, 65% completions, a little above average, 7 yards a pass, average for a college quarterback, 11 touchdowns, 11 INTs, really struggled. And so far this year at FAU, 58%, 5.3 a pass, 2 touchdowns, 3 INTs. He has not picked up the offense yet. They have really struggled, and really struggled against Michigan State and Army. They ran the ball efficiently last week versus FIU, but those 5 turnovers really changed that game around. Now, Connecticut, I was going to bring up the quarterback, Nick Ewers from Texas, no relation. Started his career, he's a 4-star guy out of high school, started in Oklahoma, went to Wisconsin, never played at either spot, and then transferred here to Connecticut. Last week versus Duke, he was 5 for 29, 1 interception, 135 yards, 1 touchdown. Those are not very good stats, but that was on the road. It was against Duke. It was his first college start. He's got a QB1 sharing there with Joe Fagnano, who is a senior, 6'4", 225, was the starter last year for the first 2 games and then had a season-ending injury. Has thrown 6 touchdowns and 1 INT so far this year, 57% completions. But he didn't play last week, so I really think Ewers is the better quarterback, and I think he's going to win that job, and I think he starts this week. Now, that's the advantage there. My offensive rankings, I have FAU 133 out of 134 offensively in my offensive ratings. Surprising for a coach like Tom Herman, who's an offensive guy. But it's a weak offensive line, a weak offense, and Fancher, I have 1 point better than the average college quarterback. Their defense, 77th. That checks in with their numbers from last year. They were 65th in defense and points allowed and 52nd in yards per play allowed. So 77th best defense in FBS, 120th in college football, though, overall, because that offense, a 93.5 rating. I have Connecticut a 97 rating. I have them 3.5 points better. 109 on offense, 125 on defense, not very good. But overall, because their special teams are outstanding, 101 in the country. So I've been rated higher. They are at home. They have 40,000 seat stadium. Last year they averaged about 27,000 a game. I only give them 4 points for their home, 3.5 actually. So I made the game 7. And I like Ewers. I like him as a much better quarterback than Foncher, the starter for FAU. FAU does come off that win over FIU as a major win because it's a big-time rivalry from Boca Raton to Miami. It's about an hour ride, maybe a little longer than that. And those two recruit against each other in the great state of Florida. So that was a rivalry game. And Tom Herman's made his hay as an underdog coach. He is an underdog here, but not a big one, just 1.5. I like Jim Moore Jr., and I like the Huskies in this game. Tulsa travels to Louisiana to play Louisiana Tech. Kevin Wilson, head coach at Tulsa. He's in his second year. He was 4-8 last year. He was an assistant at Ohio State the previous 6 seasons. But before that, he was a head coach at Indiana in the Hoosier State for the Hoosiers. He was 26-47, and he was fired from that job. And then went to Ohio State, and now here he is getting another opportunity as a head coach. Those situations I like because the guy had experience. He didn't show it at being a head coach, but he moves on. He goes to Ohio State. He learns a lot at being a Buckeye assistant, and then now as a head guy for Tulsa. He should build this program. I just have one red flag. They're 1-2 ATS. He was 1-5 ATS at home last year, 4-2 on the road. So it looks like his teams were prepared on the road, which they are here today. And they did cover at Arkansas State earlier this year in a 28-24 loss. But they lost last week to Oklahoma State at home. Very rarely do they get Oak State at home. We know how good Oklahoma State is. I think they're outstanding. And I thought Tulsa would be competitive here, and they were not. Oklahoma State beat them up pretty good, 45-10. So coming off of your rival, your biggest rival in your Super Bowl, I don't care what you do. Let me try to take a drink of coffee to try to get my voice back. And you lay an egg. I have no idea how you can get up this week versus Louisiana Tech. This is a Conference USA game, though. So that is one reason why they do need to get back up and play. But I like Louisiana Tech. These two teams are pretty even, though. Evenly matched football teams. Tulsa's offense 101, defense 121. Overall as a team, 109th ranked team I have in NCAA, 96 rating. Louisiana Tech I have a 96 rating, tied with Tulsa, basically 109. Offense 122, defense 110. These teams are just both below average football teams. Louisiana Tech, let me look at the board. At the South Point, Louisiana Tech opened 3.5, was bet down to 3. I can go back to Circa. They opened on Sunday night last week. Tulsa the favorite. Opened them 3. All the money has come on Louisiana Tech. And they are -3 right now. I made them 4.5. So I thought this game was 2, but it has been bet up once again. I really liked La Tech laying 1 or 2 in that situation at 3. It's kind of going to be a pass. I did make the total 63. And a lot of it has to do with Louisiana Tech. Sonny Cumbie's their head coach. 2 years here at Louisiana Tech. He's 6-18. He did a short stint at Texas Tech where he was a starting quarterback back in the day. So Cumbie knows the Texas Tech Red Raider offense, the air raid. And that's what he runs. He runs the air raid offense. They play fast. 39th fastest team in the country. They throw it 55% of the time. Ranks 21st throwing the football in college football this year. Tulsa on the other side is pretty well balanced, but they play fast as well. They're 38th in the country in seconds between plays. So you got 2 very fast teams going head-to-head here. Not a lot of defense. Not the greatest of offenses, but not a lot of defense. It is a Conference USA game, but with a couple of games under their belt, I think both these teams can put up some points in this football game. That would be my recommendation here, and that one would be over the 57.5. It's actually 57. At the South Point right now, it came down a half. And again, I did like Louisiana Tech laying less than 3. Not 3. I'll pass at 3 on that game. So let's do a couple other college football games that I like this weekend. My ratings will really be tested this week. I'm a power rating guy. I rate each individual player out on each team to get an offensive rating, a defensive rating, and a special teams rating, and that all adds up to my team rating. And then I adjust those from week to week. But I feel very good every year coming into the season with those ratings. For myself, along with, I guess, the rest of the wise guys in the country, betting college football has been a loser so far. For me, a small loser. I did better last week. My FCS games have been very good. I've shown a good profit so far betting the FCS games in college the first couple of weeks. So looking forward to this weekend. But I'm looking forward to this weekend for the FBS games and these bigger games. USC, Michigan. I have Michigan 8-48. USC has had 2 weeks to prepare. The look-ahead line at the South Point back in July was 10. Michigan, 10. Now we're looking at USC, a 5.5-point favorite. It's a good roster, good head coach. Lincoln Riley does a great job. He's got 2 quarterbacks in Miller Moss and Jaden Mayabe. Mayabe was at UNLV last year, transferring over there. And I have SC 19th ranked offense, 18th ranked defense, 15th best team in the country. Talented team, top 25 team. This is their first true road game. They played in Vegas against LSU and win that 20-27. They were pretty fortunate. I believe LSU had some turnovers in that game, and then they beat Utah State 48-0. Played an impressive game there. Utah State, not a good football team, well below average, but they have a good coach. So he does a good job there. And he covered last week against Utah. Utah State did. But going on the road to the Big House for the first time in their first Big Ten conference game, Sherrone Moore's team has not looked good. 0-3 ATS. They are 2-1. They found a way to beat Fresno State and Arkansas State. Not good football teams. Their only big game was Texas, and they lost 31-12. They were losing 31-6 late in that game, and they finally got a touchdown late in the game. And that game ended up going over because of that touchdown. Otherwise, they'd be 3-0 to the under. They have a really good defensive coordinator in Wink Martindale, who was the Baltimore Ravens D guy. So he's going to be well prepared. His defenses will be good. I've got him the 9th best defense in the country. Their offense has slipped to 28th right now. They did name a starter. They had 2 quarterbacks, Jack Tuttle, who was in Indiana, and Alex Orji. Orji's more mobile guy, can run the football, but still has a good arm and can throw it. I had these guys rated equally going into the season. Sherrone Moore thought they were equal. He gave them pretty much equal playing time. But people say when you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. My daughter reminded me of that. And the biggest reason is these 2 guys are still both 4 points above the college quarterback, above average rating. But when you got 2 guys, the offense is hearing 2 different voices. And they may be hearing the way they speak about the terminology differently. So it maybe gets a little confusing. And that's why they haven't had the continuity. Orji's going to be the guy. He's QB1 now. They're going to hear one voice this entire game. That will be good, I think, for Michigan. I'm glad they settled on a quarterback. So I like Michigan plus the points. I think that's a big difference there. But my ratings will come into play. And obviously I've made adjustments. I think I've got Michigan down about 4 points. And I've got SC up about 3 points. Otherwise, I might have made this game 14 before the season started. I think the roster for Michigan, talent-wise, from experience, size, speed, strength, is better. TCU plays SMU. This one will be another test for me. I have these 2 teams rated equally now. I had SMU rated higher because their starting quarterback, Preston Stone, I've had to take points off for him. He had a really good year last year with SMU, but did not look good against Nevada. Even though he came in and he had the game-winning drive, he drove his team downfield twice late in the game to win 29-24. So he pulled it out there. Against Houston Christian, a weak FCS team, they won 54-7, covered and went over. But then against BYU, he struggled early. Preston Stone did. Had an interception, was sacked. I know I was looking on the SMU website to check to see if he got injured because I saw Kevin Jennings who's a younger quarterback but very explosive. And everything on the message board was get rid of Stone, get him out, put in Kevin Jennings. And so there was nothing about an injury, but I had felt he was not 100%. I was told that before the BYU game by my good friend Micah Roberts. He was injured and may not play, but I have not read that anywhere. I don't know where Micah found that. But I've since moved Stone's rating down to Kevin Jenkins's rating if he's not 100%. So I feel better just using Jenkins's rating. He'll probably play. He moved the ball well between the 20s against BYU, but really struggled in the red zone. He's got experience now. He is playing at home. This isn't a huge home edge because TCU is in Fort Worth, about 45 minutes as the crow flies from downtown TCU to downtown Dallas. It's probably about an hour drive, and that's it. So they don't have to stay in a hotel room. TCU takes a bus to this game on Saturday to play this football game. I like Rhett Lashley as head coach. Kevin Jennings is an explosive quarterback. Preston Stone had great stats from last year. Josh Hoover is the starting quarterback at TCU. And last year, 62%, 7.4 yards a pass, 15 touchdowns, 9 INTs. Basically a 1.5 to 1 ratio there. I rated him out just a couple points above the average college quarterback, but he has played really well this year. At Stanford, they won by 7, didn't cover. They beat Long Island 45-0, did not cover. And then they lost last week to Central Florida in a horrible game where they give up 2 touchdowns late because of turnovers, and they did not cover that game. So they're 0-3 ATS. SMU 1-2 ATS. Big rivalry. TCU has won the last 3 years. I didn't go back any further than that. That's all I needed to see. I know SMU, bad taste in their mouth. They want to beat this team. I think they are just as good playing at home with revenge, getting points. And I think they have the far better defense. I have them ranked 27th on defense, 61 on offense now with the my adjustment from Preston Stone down to Kevin Jennings. So they went from a top 20 offense down to the 61st offense. I thought this was SMU's year. I love their roster, and it still can be. They are 2-1. They're only lost to BYU. So this is a big game for them this weekend. So I bet SMU. I took the points with them in this football game plus the 3. So you can get 3 as well also. A couple games real quick. Tonight, let's go over a game tonight since we have Friday football. And that Friday football game is the Illini and Nebraska. Nebraska at the South Point opened 9.5. It's been bet down to 8. This total 43 down to 42.5. Chris Andrews and his team, they do a great job. They put those numbers up on Monday morning. They get them up pretty early. It was 9:15. Chris had them on the board on Monday. So if you're looking to bet college football and a fair place to bet them, he puts them up. The limits are the limits. You can bet what he gives you. So come on into the South Point or sign up for the app and get those opening numbers on Monday. 2 really good coaches with the Illini Nebraska. Brett Bielema for the Illini, Kevin Rule for Nebraska. Rule has turned this Cornhusker team around. He's got a really good freshman quarterback in Dylan Raiola, Southern Cal kid that is a 5-star quarterback. They're going to be good, and they've shown it so far. They're 3-0. 3-0 ATS, and all 3 games have gone under. I made Nebraska 7 in the game. It's coming down to that 9.5 at South Point down to 8. I think it'll be a competitive game. You saw the total go down 43 to 42.5. I made it 45.5. When you got a good quarterback like Raiola, but it scares me with 2 conservative football coaches. Brett Bielema, as you remember, was the head coach of Wisconsin, did a great job there. Was hired by Arkansas, but didn't work out at Arkansas. They didn't like that power run game. Certain schools, you can't make it unless you play that wide open offense. Jim Mora Jr. was at UCLA, did a decent job there, but was conservative. Those kind of schools are flashy, and they like flashy, high up-tempo, pass-the-football offenses. The Illini is happy to have Brett Bielema because they know they've got offensive linemen. They got skilled players that can run it. They're going to run the football. And Bielema is an under coach. In his time at the Illini, 24-12 to the under, and he's 3-0 under this year, so 27-12. I don't want to get in front of that freight train and bet this game over. So it is an under game, even though my number's 45.5. Just the trends for both coaches. Matt Rule, 8-6 under last year, 3-0 under this year. So looks like an under game to me, even though my number's higher. And I love unders. I love unders way more than overs because they happen 3% more than overs do in time, over time. That's the history of sports betting. I can go back 40 years and tell you unders cash more than overs do. So, hey, Tennessee and Oklahoma. Oh, this is my last college game because it's 8:24 now. Don't want to run too late. We're about 30 to 40 minutes here solo by myself on Friday. Sports by the book. Remember, you can catch us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, myself, my daughter, Alex White, Family Matters Sports by the Book, 9 a.m., 9 to 10. And then you can catch Alex White and Jeff Parles on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. They lead you right off to the 9 a.m. Pacific kickoff games. And then Sunday, there are 9 to 10 leading you off to kickoff in the NFL. Catch all the great shows. South Point Studios on YouTube. That's where you can find the schedule of the shows every day from the South Point. Tennessee and Oklahoma, Josh Heupel against Brent Venables here in this one. Josh Heupel probably has a lot of revenge here. He was a quarterback at Oklahoma. He was a coach at Oklahoma, hired by Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops made him his offensive coordinator, did a great job, and then went 8-5 one year. That happens. Stoops fired him. And Heupel went on to go to Utah State and then work his way back to as a head coach. He got a head coaching job at Central Florida, and he built that program 28-8 and ends up getting the Tennessee job, and he's done a really good job for the Vols, improving that program, getting it back to the stature of the Peyton Manning days, 27-12 in his 3 years. He has been really good in Knoxville in their home games, 14-9 ATS, on the road, 7-8 in his 3 years at Tennessee. So he's done a much better job with that great home advantage that he has. Now, Oklahoma, their games don't look as good. Tennessee, if you look at their games, all three are blowout wins. Oklahoma, kind of a struggle. They beat Temple the first week, easy win. They cover, game goes under. They have a super defensive coordinator. Brent Venables is a defensive guy himself, 10 years at Clemson. And they have a really good quarterback. Their freshman, Jackson Arnold. Two young quarterbacks in this game. Nick Iamaleava for Tennessee and Jackson Arnold for Oklahoma. But the defense is good too. Oklahoma's defense is maybe wins the game here. Oklahoma's scores do not look impressive. And that's why when you look at the South Point and their games of the year, Oklahoma was the favorite over Tennessee. But not anymore. Let's look at the board and let's see what Chrissy and his team opened up Oklahoma this week coming into this game. Oklahoma, Chris and team opened Tennessee 7.5. That number is down to 7. I took the 7.5 with Tennessee, not at the South Point, other places in the United States, but outside of the state of Nevada. Took 7.5, and I made the game 2, Tennessee 2. So I like Oklahoma here in the spot. And again, my information is that after Temple, Oklahoma played Houston, and Houston came off a loss against UNLV, the Running Rebels here in Vegas. It was in Houston, and UNLV destroyed them. So Oklahoma, Brent Venables, they started preparing for Tennessee. 3 weeks in advance, they started preparing for Tennessee and Josh Heupel's offense. They did not cover, almost lost the game, almost backfired on them. They kind of did the same last week against Tulane, but they did cover that game. They probably prepared a little bit more for Tulane. But they are well prepared for Tennessee in this spot. And it's an SEC game, first one for Oklahoma. It's going to be a crazy crowd. They have a great home field. So, and I have them the better defense. Team rankings, Tennessee third in the country offensively. Josh Heupel's offense is great. Does it travel, though? We'll see if it travels on the road. 16th on defense, they are. 8th best team in the country. Oklahoma 31st in offense, 11th in defense, 18th overall. So Oklahoma have the better defensive team at home that hasn't showed you anything so far. Hasn't showed Tennessee anything. So that's my play. I'm on the Sooners plus the points. Love underdogs, love home underdogs when I can get them. Major League Baseball. It has been very, very good to me. Last, I'd say 3 weeks. It was a tough stretch, though, after the All-Star break into August betting baseball, and it always is. August is the dog days of summer for the baseball guys, and they're into the season, over 100 games at that point, and there's still 60 games from the end of the season. So it gets to be a tough month, and the temperatures are hot. So you just don't know what you're going to get from those teams, and I didn't get good results. But when the clock hit September, my results have been much, much better in baseball. Today, Washington Nationals at the Cubs. Trevor Williams starts for the Nationals. And this guy is a journeyman major league pitcher, came from Arizona State. I watched him pitch in person twice when he was with Arizona State. He was the midweek starter. And they faced UNLV, the Running Rebels. My son, TJ, played for the Rebels in those years and faced Trevor Williams. I didn't go back to see what he did against him. I should have checked out. He had a really good senior year. My son was drafted in the 17th or 18th round for the Twins. Was supposed to go a lot higher than that, but he had a broken hamate bone in his hand. And they were talking that his agent and scouts that we were in contact with all had him pegged between the 5th and 7th round, but did not go there because of the broken hamate bone. But it was drafted. But he faced Trevor Williams. So Williams basically average big league career until this year. And he was 5-0 with a 2.22 ERA after 56 innings, and then had a strained ulnar nerve in his right shoulder and put him on the DL. He missed 2 months. He did pitch 2 rehab games in the minors preparing for this start, and he has good stuff, veteran pitcher. Jamison Tyone for the Cubs has had a very good year, 3.54 ERA, 1.16 whip, which is outstanding. Williams' is whip better, 1.08. Last 3 starts for Tyone, hitters hitting just 194, and he has a 3.50 xFIP. Today, the weather in Wrigley, 84 degrees, west-southwest wind to start the game. It will shift to the west and west-northwest. It's kind of why this total did not go down. I only made it 7. I'm not going to adjust anything for the weather. The total 9 under 15. Let's check the South Point total, see what they are right now. This game's going to be going off at 11:20. South Point, 9.5 under 15. Basically, that's what the market is. Cubs $1.65. I made the Cubs a 189 in this game. A little lean to the Cubbies, but I wouldn't lay that kind of price. Too big of a price to lay, but I do like under 9. It's going to take 10 runs. You got 2 really good pitchers going. You could even jump to first 5 innings and probably go under 5 runs in the first 5 to make sure you have Williams and Tyone, because Trevor Williams' first big league start in 2 months will probably have a pitch count in the 75 to 80 range, which will get him through 5 innings. So if you don't trust the bullpen, which I really don't trust Washington's bullpen, play the first 5 under 5 today in the Cub game. Arizona at Milwaukee, Zach Gallen on the mound for the Diamondbacks. I've been talking about on Sports by the Book for my first couple weeks. I've been betting Arizona for almost 2 months now, every day. I think they're undervalued in the betting market. The Oakland A's are the other team. You got to circle it. Give me the A's and Diamondbacks every day, and they have not disappointed. Gallen today, $1.20. When I did my research before the show, looking at the South Point, they are $1.20 as well. So right now, I made this game much, much higher, $1.98. I'm not a big fan of the Brewers' offense, but I am the Diamondbacks' offense. They've been one of the best offenses in baseball over the last 60 days. Colin Rio, the starter for Milwaukee, in his last 3 starts, hitters are hitting .375 against him, compared to Zach Gallen, 184, and a huge xFIP for Rhea. So big advantage offensively, big advantage on the mound, and we're laying just $1.20. Tigers play the Orioles. Give you a dog. I give you an under, give you a favorite, give you a dog here. Give me the Tigers plus the big price here. Checking the South Point numbers, plus 152. This line has really come down since my earlier show, Bet the Gambit, today when I gave this out. This was plus $1.70. But I'm still on it at plus that price, 152. I made Detroit the favorite, which is shocking with Baltimore and Corbin Burns on the mound. But Brant Herter, the lefty for Detroit, has been tremendous. In his 38 big league innings, he has a whip of .083. Looking at my sheet, my power rating sheet for baseball. Herter, last 5 starts, 5 innings, 4 runs, 4 hits, 1 run. 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Those numbers are better than Corbin Burns. I did not rate him as high as Corbin Burns. I rated Burns much, much higher. But offensively, I have the Tigers better against righties. than the Orioles are against lefties. So I did make Detroit the favorite in that game, taking a big price. And the market agrees with me. They think Detroit's being undervalued in this game. I believe they're on a 4-game winning streak as well. The Tigers are. Yes, they are. 4-game winning streak. So playing a team that's playing well, taking a big price with a left-handed pitcher that has been dominating since his call-up. So check that game out. Check more South Point Studio stuff out today at noon. You can catch Frank Nicotero. Punchlines, great show. Funny man, a lot of funny jokes, and a guy that loves sports. He is covering all sports for you today on Punchlines. So thanks again for being with us here, Sports by the Book. Have a great weekend. Remember, catch Alex White and Jeff Parles tomorrow at 8 a.m., Sports by the Book, and then 9 a.m. on Sunday. Appreciate you listening, following. Please subscribe and like. Lets YouTube know you're watching us. You don't. It does nothing to you. We're not going to send you emails. We're not going to send you any information. You don't give any information. All you got to do is hit subscribe, and it just lets YouTube know how many subscribers we have. So appreciate you watching today. Have a great rest of your weekend. And you'll catch me back on Sports by the Book on Monday at 9. So we'll see you later. Have a great day.